What's going on, Trailblazers? It's your boy wtfmikxy here, and today we're going to be going over Jingliu versus Aventurine and who is best for your team. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Alright guys, so start off with Aventurine. As some of you may know, one of the main characters to the Penacony story. Some of the cool things that Aventurine provides to the table is he has a stackable special shield to all allies, triggers follow-up attacks after allies with the special shield are attacked, and also increases crit damage taken by enemies. Right off the bat, I can easily tell you that a majority of players do not have a good sustainer. This is me included. If you are rocking Lynx, Natasha, Fire MC, or March 7th, then Aventurine would be a really good pick for you. One of the biggest things and most informative things that I've learned while playing Aventurine is that he's really good at reshielding your other allies. And for a sustainer character, Aventurine actually does a lot of damage considering that he has a follow-up attack. On the note of follow-up attacks, this is a really good character to pair with Himiko and Herta. Because if a Kuro from Herta and a follow-up attack from Himiko wasn't enough, now you got 3 characters doing follow-up attacks. So going into some of Aventurine's skills, his basic attack straight bet deals minor imaginary damage to a single target enemy. His skill Cornerstone Deluxe provides all enemies with a fortified wager shield whose shield effect is stackable. As for Aventurine's ultimate Roulette Shark, he gains a random amount of blind bet points and inflicts unnerved on a single enemy, dealing imaginary damage. When an ally hits an unnerved enemy, the crit damage dealt increases. As for Aventurine's talent Shot Loaded Right, for any single ally with fortified wager, their effect res increases, and when they get attacked, Aventurine accumulates blind bet. When Aventurine has fortified wager, he can resist crowd control debuffs. Upon reaching 7 points of blind bet, Aventurine consumes the 7 points to launch a follow-up attack that deals minor imaginary damage to random single enemy targets, bouncing a total of 7 times. And lastly, as for Aventurine's technique, the red or the black, using the technique randomly grants 1 out of the 3 defensive boost effects with different buff values. After entering the next battle, increases all allies' defense by the corresponding value. Now I have 3 valid reasons on why you should pull Aventurine. Reason number 1 is, as I mentioned before, if you want to use Herta and Himiko, they are really good follow-up characters to pair with a character like Aventurine. Besides the point of Himiko and Herta, Himiko is on the standard banner, so you may have her, and if you don't, there's another standard banner character you could synergize Aventurine with as well. The standard banner character that I am talking about is Clara. Clara does a lot of good follow-up damage, as when she's attacked, she will attack the enemy back. And when Clara has her ultimate popped, if one of her allies are attacked, she will attack the enemy back. And not only that, I'm also going to mention that Clara is probably one of the most tankiest DPS characters in all of Honkai Star Rail. So if you pair Clara with a shielder like Aventurine who provides lots of good shield value, Clara's not going down. Like, the enemy would literally need to bring a full-on bulldozer to bring Clara down with Aventurine on the team. Now, as far as reasoning number 2, I think Aventurine is one of the most free-to-play friendly characters that you can get on the limited banner. So besides the point that you can synergize Aventurine with 2 5-star standard banner characters, Clara and Himiko, you can also synergize Aventurine with the free Dr. Ratio 5-star character. Dr. Ratio is not the only free character either, as you can E6 Herta for free of cost and run a follow-up comp. Now for my third and final reason on why you should pick up Aventurine, it's his endgame team composition value. Now for those of you who are unfamiliar with the endgame, there are 2 endgame game modes. Those 2 endgame game modes being Memory of Chaos and Pure Fiction. Now we already got across that Aventurine as a sustainer not only will provide shields to your team, but will provide follow-up attack damage as well, and will also provide strong debuffs to the enemy from his ultimate. The absolute best characters to run in Pure Fiction is any erudition character or any characters that provide follow-up attack. Considering the facts that Aventurine can provide lots of follow-up attacks during one combat sequence, it makes him very valuable. And as an overall sustainer, you don't gotta worry about your other allies dying during the endless waves of Pure Fiction. Now as far as Memory of Chaos goes, the biggest problem with Memory of Chaos is actually staying alive. And with Aventurine being out right now, if you have a problem with staying alive during Memory of Chaos, get Aventurine. And take it from somebody who is struggling in Memory of Chaos and in Pure Fiction, because I still am rocking free-to-play sustainers. I don't even have a Japard from the standard banner, so using characters like Natasha and Lynx, I'm really getting smoked in the end game content. And that is mainly because I focus on the front line, which is my DPS, to deal lots and lots of damage, when I forgot about the foundation holding my team up is my sustainers. And I know there's a lot of you Trailblazers out there who are focusing on your DPS characters way too much and forgetting about your sustainers. So with that said, all in all, if you have your DPS characters built and you're looking for a character that's going to really hold your team together and keep them from dying, Aventurine's the pull for you here. Moving on to one of the most fan-favorited characters in all of Honkai Star Rail, Jingliu. Jingliu is a 5-star ice element character who follows the path of destruction. With that said, a couple things about Jingliu is that she gains a charge when attacking after accumulating a certain number of charges. charges. This she enhances herself and advances forward her own action. And while enhanced, she consumes the charge to use a powerful ability. Now I'm pretty sure the biggest question that all of you Trailblazers have is Jingliu worth pulling in Honkai Star Rail 2.1 on her rerun? To put it simply, it just depends on who you are and what characters you have. So this is a yes and no. Now based off aestheticness, Jingliu is definitely one of the most pleasing characters to have on your team as far as what she can do on the battlefield. And now, while I do feel like Jingliu is still one of the most powerful characters in the game, with the just now released Acheron, that kind of changes things up a bit. Now before we discuss Jingliu's value as a character, let's get into her abilities, starting off with her basic attack, Lucent Moonglow, which deals minor ice damage to a single enemy target. Moving on to Jingliu's skill, Transcendent Flash, deals ice damage to a target enemy and obtains 1 stack of Syzygy. As for Jingliu's ultimate, Florfremio Dream Flux, deals massive ice damage to a target enemy and deals ice damage to adjacent targets, and she obtains 1 stack of Syzygy. As for Jingliu's talent, Crescent Transmigration, when possessing 2 stacks of Syzygy, Jingliu enters the Spectral Transmigration state where her action advanced by 100%. Her crit rate increased and her skill becomes enhanced. Using an attack in this state consumes HP from all other allies and increases Jingliu's attack according to the total HP consumed. When Syzygy's stack becomes 0, exits the Spectral Transmigration state. And lastly, as far as Jingliu's technique, Shine of Truth, she creates a dimension around herself and enemies within this dimension will become frozen. After entering combat with enemies in this dimension, Jingliu regenerates energy and obtains 1 stack of Syzygy with a high chance to freeze enemies. Now with Acheron in the picture, Jingliu is in a weird situation. So depending on if you have 2 team compositions already, Jingliu might not be worth pulling for you. And unlike sustainers like Aventurine, she's not really as valuable as Aventurine would be on a team composition. So with that said, if you are still building your first team and you already have a DPS character, Jingliu is not the pull for you. But if you are building your second team and looking for a second DPS, Jingliu is a really great option. Now, this isn't a video to tell you to pull Aventurine over Jingliu, so I'm actually going to be getting into the positive things about Jingliu so that way you can decide if you want to pull her or not. So with that said, here are 3 main reasons why you should consider pulling Jingliu over Aventurine. Now, like I said before with Aventurine, if you had all DPS characters, then you want to go for Aventurine as a great sustainer. Now, this is vice versa with Jingliu. As Jingliu, in my opinion, is one of the best damage output characters in the game, I feel like that makes Jingliu one of the must-have DPS characters in the game. I mean, Jingliu's damage output is off the charts, as I've seen a bunch of people hit some really crazy numbers as far as damage goes from her. And on top of Jingliu being one of the highest output damage characters in the game, she also advances her own action forward so she can get more turns, which basically leads to even more damage. So if you're also the player that has a Bronya from the 5-star standard banner, then Jingliu will be a really good character to pair up with Bronya, as Bronya advances other allies' actions forward to the table. And not only does she do that, she also gives them damage boost, which is perfect for Jingliu's high damage output. This makes Jingliu a really high priority to pair up with Bronya. In short, meaning Jingliu would get more turns and more damage output thanks to Bronya. Now, coming in at number 2 on the reason why you should pick up Jingliu is that she synergizes with a lot of 4-star characters. So aside from Bronya on the 5-star standard banner, you get a free-to-play Asta that you can pair up with Jingliu as well. Asta also provides speed buff to your allies, so if you're unable to get your hands on a 5-star Bronya, Asta is a perfect free-to-play option for you. And let me remind you, you are guaranteed a free 5-star standard banner character at the 300 selector, so if you are that player that hasn't picked yet, you can make a long-term investment on Jingliu and get Bronya later to pair up with your Jingliu. Another common character that most players have is the 4-star character Tingyun, and she is one of the best 4-star harmony characters in the game. Now, although Tingyun doesn't provide speed like Asta and Bronya, she does provide energy regeneration and attack percentage, which will help Jingliu as well. Now, the examples of Tingyun, Bronya, and Asta are just only one of many examples on how you can pair Jingliu into many team compositions. Now, for the sake of making this a guide based off free-to-play characters as well, I'm not going to be going into the limited characters as much. Now, the third and final reason why you should pull Jingliu is that she's really good in Memory of Chaos and in Pure Fiction. Her high damage output will save you a lot of stress from when you're trying to battle the hardships of Memory of Chaos. I know for me personally that if I had Jingliu on my team, I would be able to deal with Memory of Chaos way easier because her damage output is absolutely through the roof. As far as Pure Fiction goes, Jingliu may not be a top pick considering the fact that she has no follow-up attacks and she's not an erudition character. However, due to the fact that Jingliu could advance her own action by 100%, if paired right with like a Bronya or any of the characters that I mentioned before, I personally don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to clear Pure Fiction with ease. Not to mention that most of Jingliu's main kit is AoE damage, so she will work perfectly fine for your Pure Fiction runs. Now, here are my final thoughts. Should you pull for Jingliu or Aventurine? Aventurine. As I said before, it just depends on which team comp you're trying to go for. These are both really good characters, and it's really hard to skip out on both of them. Although this is a Jingliu rerun, she won't be seen in a while after this banner time is up, so you got to keep that in mind. But if you are the player that really badly needs a sustainer, you got to skip on Jingliu and grab Aventurine. However, with that said, if you're in a position where you really want Jingliu and nothing that I've said has convinced you, you could also wait for Fu Shuang come out in the next banner. But then you run the risk of skipping Robin if you were planning on getting her as well. Now, with that all out of the way, I really do pray for you guys' success on your next banner pulls, and I hope you get the characters that you want. My name is wtfmikxy, and if you are new, please feel free to smash the subscribe button down below so you can find your way back to the channel. I also have a Discord community link in the bio if you want to join our latest discussions on Honkai Star Rail. Make sure you guys comment your thoughts down below, and that's it for now. Peace!